Today, we're talking all about the 1969 1-cent coin. We'll be exploring its history, its significance during its time, and most importantly, its value today. But first, let's take a look at what makes this penny so interesting. The year 1969 was a pivotal moment in history. It was a time when the US was making great strides on the global stage. The moon landing by Apollo 11 was one of the most iconic moments of the 20th century, while the cultural shifts and political movements of the era were shaping a new America. In the middle of this turbulent and exciting time, the US Mint was hard at work producing coins for the public. The 1969 1-cent coin, like many others, was part of the regular minting process. But what's interesting about this coin is that it was produced during a time of transition in US coinage. In the 1960s, the US faced a major change in its coinage production. The country was moving from a system that used a higher percentage of silver in its coins to a more affordable and efficient copper-nickel mixture. The 1969 penny is made primarily from copper, a composition that has become synonymous with the 1-cent piece ever since. Let's talk about the design. The 1969 penny, like most pennies of its time, features the famous image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln has been featured on the penny since 1909, marking the 100th anniversary of his birth. On the reverse, we see the familiar image of the Lincoln Memorial, which was designed by Frank Gasparo and first introduced in 1959. This was part of a redesign that replaced the original wheat ears design that had been in circulation since 1909. Both of these designs are still instantly recognizable today, though the coin has undergone some changes since then. But what about the mintage? How many of these 1969 pennies were actually made, and does that affect their value? In 1969, the US Mint produced a staggering number of pennies, specifically over 4 billion 1-cent coins. In fact, the 1969 penny is considered to be one of the most widely produced pennies in American history. With such a large number minted, you might be wondering, does this mean that the 1969 penny is worth very little? Well, not necessarily. The value of a coin isn't just determined by how many were made, but by several factors, including its condition, rarity, and specific variations. Now, here's where things get interesting. While most 1969 1-cent coins are worth their face value, there are some rare and valuable exceptions. One of the most famous variations of the 1969 penny is the 1969 S-double die obverse penny. This era coin features a noticeable doubling of the date, and the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust on the obverse. The S mint mark on the reverse indicates that this penny was minted at the San Francisco Mint. Because of this double die error, these pennies are much more valuable than their counterparts. In fact, a well-preserved 1969 S double die obverse penny can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. In 2020, a 1969 S double die obverse penny in mint condition sold for over $30,000. That's a far cry from the penny's face value of just 1 cent. So, what's the value of a regular 1969 penny today? In general, a typical 1969 1-cent coin in average condition is worth, well, about 1 cent. However, the value goes up depending on the coin's condition. A 1969 penny in excellent condition, graded MS 65 or higher, might be worth a few dollars. Condition is everything when it comes to coin collecting. Coins that are graded higher in terms of quality, such as those with sharp details and no wear, are more desirable to collectors. And then, of course, there are the rare era coins like the 1969 S double die obverse, which can be worth thousands depending on their quality and demand. So, while most 1969 pennies are just like any other modern penny, there's definitely potential for some hidden gems in your collection. Though the 1969 penny isn't as valuable as some other rare coins from different years, it still holds a special place in the hearts of collectors and historians alike. These coins serve as a reminder of a simpler time in American currency history and offer a glimpse into the changes that were happening in the country in the 1960s. They're not just pieces of metal, they're artifacts, each with its own story to tell. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who stumbled across a 1969 penny in your change, it's important to remember that every coin tells a story. The 1969 1-cent coin may seem like just another penny, but with a little knowledge and some luck, it could be more than that. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1969 1-cent coin, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more coin-related content. And as always, happy collecting! You might have seen this coin in your change, but did you know that it has an interesting backstory and even some potential value in the right conditions? Let's jump right into it. The year 1975 was a significant one in both American and world history. The United States was coming off the heels of the turbulent 1960s and early 70s, which included the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal, and the end of the gold standard. The country was also going through a major shift in the way it handled money, and the U.S. Mint was busy producing coins for an ever-changing economy. 1975 was also a milestone year in terms of coinage production. The 1975 1-cent coin, minted at the Denver Mint, is part of the ongoing effort to ensure the U.S. had a steady supply of currency to meet the demands of the American economy. The D Mint mark on this coin indicates that it was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the largest and most important mints in the U.S. The 1975 D penny is part of a long tradition of U.S. coinage that dates back over 200 years. But what makes this penny special is not just its historical context, but its design and the changes that were occurring in the world of coinage. The 1975 D 1-cent coin follows the traditional design that has been a hallmark of the penny for decades. On the obverse, we have the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This image of Lincoln has been used since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The reverse of the 1975 penny features the familiar Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was introduced in 1959 and became a symbol of the unity and strength of the United States. The memorial is depicted in all its grandeur, representing Lincoln's legacy. Although the design has remained the same for several decades, there is something interesting about the 1975 coin, which we'll talk about in a moment. But for now, let's focus on the minting process and how many of these coins were produced. In 1975, the U.S. Mint produced over 4 billion 1-cent coins, which includes both Philadelphia and Denver minted pennies. Of these, approximately 1.5 billion were minted at the Denver Mint, denoted by the D Mint mark, making it one of the most common pennies from that year. With such high production numbers, you might think the 1975 D penny isn't worth much. But it's important to remember that coin value is determined by much more than just how many were made. The condition, rarity, and special variations play a huge role in determining a penny's worth. Since the 1975 D penny is relatively common, most of these coins are worth only their face value of 1 cent. However, there are exceptions, particularly when the coin is in pristine condition or has unique features. While the vast majority of 1975 D pennies are worth just 1 cent, there are still a few out there that are worth much more. So, what can increase the value of a 1975 D penny? The most common factors affecting a coin's value include its grade, rarity, and whether it has any unique features or errors. A coin's grade is determined by its condition, which is assessed by professionals. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition are always more valuable than those that are worn or damaged. For example, a 1975 D penny in mint state, with sharp details and no wear, could fetch a higher price on the market. It might be worth a few dollars depending on the grade, especially if it's graded at MS 65 or higher. And let's not forget that error coins always have a potential for higher value. While the 1975 D penny doesn't have any famous error varieties like some other years, it's always worth checking your pennies carefully for any unusual characteristics. Now, while the 1975 D penny is generally considered a common coin, there's always the possibility of finding an error coin. One of the most notable error types to look for is double die coins, where the die used to strike the coin was misaligned, resulting in doubled images. Though the 1975 D penny doesn't have a well-known error, some collectors still report finding misprints or other anomalies in certain batches. These can include things like off-center strikes, die cracks, or even struck-through errors. While they aren't common, they are highly sought after by collectors. Even without a notable error, it's always a good idea to inspect your coins, because you never know when you might find one that could be worth more than just a cent. Though the 1975 D penny's face value hasn't changed, inflation has certainly altered the landscape. A penny today isn't worth what it was in 1975. In fact, with inflation, a penny's purchasing power has greatly diminished over the past few decades. Despite this, the penny still holds a place in the American economy and in the hearts of collectors. Coins like the 1975 D penny, though not worth much individually, contribute to the culture and history of American currency. For collectors, even the most common coins can hold sentimental or historical value, especially as part of a complete collection. So, what's the bottom line when it comes to the 1975 D penny? Well, while most of these coins are worth only a cent, there are still opportunities to find valuable specimens. Whether it's a penny in pristine condition, a rare error, or just a part of your growing collection, the 1975 D penny holds a special place in American numismatic history. Coin collecting is a hobby that requires patience and attention to detail. Even the most common coins, like the 1975 D penny, can tell a story and hold value, whether it's financial or sentimental. If you enjoyed learning about the 1975 D penny and want to see more coin-related content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, happy collecting! We'll be looking at the 1984 D penny, a coin that's seen over 40 years of circulation. But what makes this coin special? And is it worth more than just 1 cent today? Stick with us to find out. To understand the significance of the 1984 D penny, we need to take a step back in time to the early 1980s. The U.S. was coming off a challenging economic period marked by high inflation, the oil crisis, and political tensions abroad. But by 1984, the country was beginning to bounce back. The economy was improving, and people were seeing growth in jobs, wages, and consumer confidence. Amidst these changes, the U.S. Mint was busy at work, producing coins for circulation. The 1984 1-cent coin was part of this effort. Like most pennies produced during this time, it was minted to keep up with the ever-growing need for small change in daily transactions. The D Mint mark on the 1984 penny means it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the busiest mints in the United States. With over 7.5 billion 1-cent coins minted in 1984, the penny was certainly a major player in the currency system. But did you know that by the time the 1980s rolled around, the penny had already been in circulation for more than 70 years in its current design? Let's take a closer look at the design of the 1984 D penny. On the obverse, we have the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has been in use since 1909, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. Lincoln, whose face has graced the penny for over a century, is a symbol of unity, freedom, and the American ideals of democracy. The inscriptions on the front of the coin, "Liberty and in God We Trust," alongside the year 1984, are key features of the obverse. On the reverse side, we have the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was introduced in 1959, replacing the original wheat ears design, which had been on the penny since 1909. The memorial stands as a tribute to one of the greatest presidents in American history. The reverse design has remained unchanged for over 60 years, making it one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. It is both a symbol of Lincoln's legacy and the enduring nature of the U.S. Mint's commitment to preserving historical figures in its coinage. In 1984, the U.S. Mint produced a staggering 7.5 billion one-cent coins. Of that total, approximately 4.6 billion pennies were minted at the Denver Mint, denoted by the D mint mark. This makes the 1984 D penny one of the most commonly produced pennies in U.S. history. With that high of a production number, you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound very rare. And you'd be right. Most 1984 D pennies are quite common. But in the world of coin collecting, it's not always about rarity alone. There are still factors like condition, grade, and even potential errors that can give a coin value beyond its face value. Coins that are in excellent condition are worth more to collectors. If a 1984 D penny is in pristine, uncirculated condition, it could be worth a few dollars, especially if it's graded as MS65 or higher. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. Pennies with sharp details and no visible wear are highly sought after. In fact, a 1984 D penny that's graded at MS66 or higher could fetch anywhere from $5 to $10 at auction, depending on the market. But remember, these are in mint condition, so the next time you find a 1984 D penny in your pocket, take a good look and check its condition. Now, this is where things get interesting. While the 1984 D penny is generally not considered a rare coin, there are some unique era varieties that can really increase its value. One of the most sought-after varieties of the 1984 D penny is the 1984 D over D double mint mark error. This happens when the mint mark D is struck over another D, creating a noticeable doubling effect. These types of error coins are considered rare and can command a premium price among collectors. If you happen to stumble upon a 1984 D penny with this type of error, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds of dollars, depending on its condition and how well the error is visible. Error coins are always fascinating because they're unique, a product of mistakes at the mint that can turn a regular coin into something extraordinarily valuable. Even though the 1984 D penny is one of the most common coins in circulation, it still holds value for collectors. Coins from this era are a great way for new collectors to get started. The 1984 D penny is part of the broader history of U.S. currency, and as time passes, it may gain more appeal as a piece of American numismatic history. Whether you're just starting out as a coin collector or you're an experienced numismatist, the 1984 D penny is a great coin to keep an eye on. Its value may not be sky high right now, but in the future, as the years go by, its historical significance might make it more desirable to collectors. So, what's the takeaway about the 1984 D penny? Most of these coins are still circulating today, and while they're worth just 1 cent, they can hold value depending on their condition, rarity, and any special errors that might exist. While it may not be the most valuable penny in your collection, the 1984 D penny is a great example of how the seemingly mundane can hold historical significance. Coin collecting is all about discovery. The more you learn about coins like the 1984 D penny, the more you can appreciate their value and their role in our currency system. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1984 D penny. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more coin-related content. And remember, keep collecting, and who knows what hidden treasures you might find in your pocket. This penny might seem ordinary, but it's part of a bigger story in American coinage. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone interested in coins, stick around as we dive deep into the history, mintage, and potential value of this little coin that packs a punch. Let's get started. The year 1995 marked a pivotal time in the United States, both socially and economically. The 1990s were characterized by strong economic growth, technological advancements, and a booming stock market. On the flip side, the government was dealing with the aftermath of the Cold War and rising global tensions. Despite these challenges, everyday life for many Americans seemed to improve as the economy flourished. And that's where the 1995 D-penny comes in. The U.S. Mint was working hard to produce the coins necessary to fuel the growing economy, and in 1995, more than 8 billion 1-cent coins were minted across the country. Just like many of the pennies produced in the 1990s, the 1995 D-penny was designed to meet the high demand for small change. But while this coin was intended for circulation, its production was part of a much larger story in U.S. coin history. The penny had been in its current design for decades, and by 1995, it was a staple in American currency. Now, let's take a look at the design of the 1995 D-penny. On the front, or obverse, we have the well-known image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has been in use for more than 100 years, making it one of the most enduring and recognizable images in U.S. coinage. President Lincoln, a symbol of unity and freedom, has graced the 1-cent coin since 1909. The inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear along with the year 1995, marking the year of minting. The details in this portrait remain a key part of the coin's legacy. On the reverse, we see the familiar Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was introduced in 1959, replacing the original wheat ears reverse design. The Lincoln Memorial stands as a tribute to Lincoln's enduring legacy, and it's been featured on the penny for over 60 years. The reverse has remained largely unchanged for decades, and its grandeur makes it an iconic feature on this penny. These consistent designs are part of what gives the penny its historical importance and widespread recognition. In 1995, the U.S. Mint produced an impressive 8 billion 1-cent coins. Of this massive total, 4.6 billion were minted at the Denver Mint, denoted by the D mint mark. This makes the 1995 D-penny one of the most common pennies in circulation today. With so many of these pennies out there, it's no surprise that most of them are still found in your pocket change. But that doesn't mean the 1995 D-penny is without value in the world of coin collecting. As we'll see in a moment, certain factors can elevate the value of this otherwise common coin. Despite the high production numbers, it's important to understand that coins from the 1990s, including the 1995 D-penny, can still have a place in your collection if they're in pristine condition or have unique characteristics. Now, let's talk about the value of the 1995 D-penny. As we mentioned, most of these coins are worth just 1 cent. After all, with over 8 billion of them minted, they're far from rare. However, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. Coins in good condition are always more valuable than those that are worn or heavily circulated. So, a 1995 D-penny that's in excellent condition could fetch a premium price, especially if it's graded as MS-65 or higher. For example, a 1995 D-penny in mint state, with no signs of wear and excellent detail, can be worth anywhere from $1 to $5, depending on the market. But when you get into higher grades, such as MS-67 or higher, the price can climb even more. At the high end of the spectrum, a 1995 D-penny in pristine, uncirculated condition could sell for $10 to $15, depending on the demand and specific grade. So, even though it's a common coin, there are still opportunities to make a little extra cash if you happen to find one in excellent condition. Now, let's dive into something that excites many collectors: error coins. Error coins are always highly sought after in the world of numismatics, and while the 1995 D-penny doesn't have as many famous errors as other years, there are still a few anomalies worth looking out for. One of the most interesting error types for the 1995 D-penny is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the coin's die is misaligned during the minting process, resulting in doubled images on the coin. These can be particularly noticeable on the Liberty or "In God We Trust" inscriptions. If you happen to find a 1995 D penny with noticeable doubling, it could be worth hundreds of dollars, depending on its condition. So, always inspect your pennies carefully for potential errors. Another error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike. While not as common, it's always worth looking closely at your coins to see if you've found something rare. Even though the 1995 D penny may not be worth much in terms of face value, its historical significance and appeal to collectors make it an interesting addition to any collection. The 1995 D penny is part of a long-standing tradition of U.S. coinage, and it represents a snapshot in time from the mid-1990s. Over the years, the penny has become more than just a coin, it's a piece of American history. And while it might not have the same value as a rare coin from earlier centuries, the 1995 D penny is still a part of that ongoing legacy. Whether you're a casual collector or a serious numismatist, the 1995 D penny provides an opportunity to connect with the past and appreciate the intricate process that goes into minting American coins. So, there you have it, the 1995 D penny. While it may be one of the most common pennies in circulation, its history, design, and potential for unique errors make it a coin worth paying attention to. Whether you're looking for a coin in excellent condition, hoping to find an error, or just adding to your collection, the 1995 D penny is still a piece of history. Coin collecting is all about finding those hidden gems, and even the most common coins, like the 1995 D penny, can hold more value than you might think. Keep your eyes peeled for unusual characteristics and keep collecting. If you enjoyed learning about the 1995 D penny and want to dive deeper into the world of coin collecting, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, every coin tells a story. Happy collecting!